This is BullionMax. I'm Mark Allen, along with the customer service manager for BullionMax, Sean Reynolds. And we're going to talk once again about precious metals. I thought because Sean has a day-to-day involvement with you as a customer that we should find out a little bit about Sean. Sean, nice to see you again. We've been talking about everything from rock and roll to food. So let's talk about your customer service background
Sure.
and specifically as it relates to precious metals.
Absolutely. Well, when I got out of college in 1980, I started selling professional audio, video, and lighting equipment, and that was just really an amazing job. I had some pretty cool customers. Jimmy Buffett was a customer of mine. Bass player from Boston was a customer of mine. Neville Brothers, a number of others. Had an opportunity to go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Since I had a 1-year-old at the time, the wife said no. So, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But from there, I moved on to.
And today, I'm sorry, today the then 1-year-old wants to go to New Orleans themselves.
Yeah, he's going to be 30 this year, so he'd love to go.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
got it. Okay.
Show me something, mister. He's got some beads coming.
Yeah, I
Uh,
get.
but from there, I had a couple of other minor sales positions before I landed at American Girl and Mattel. And when I was there, like many people, I started as a seasonal order processor. And I'll tell you what, most of the other employees who were on the phones at the time were older women who had this amazing tone. And if they asked you for information, they would say please. When they received it, they would say thank you. And I thought, that's how service is supposed to sound. My goodness, I love the sound of that. And that has driven my service expectations for my teams ever since then. So I've gone on to create some award-winning service teams, but it's still based on those ladies and that fantastic work ethic and just wonderful interpersonal skills. So
Customer service today seems to be deteriorating generally. Okay.
I'm often disappointed.
But companies like Bullion Max excel at customer service. It's
Mhm.
all about customer service.
Right.
Let's, before we hit that, let's talk about your involvement in precious metals because you've been involved
Sure.
for quite a while.
hmm Yeah, after I worked for Mattel and American Girl, I spent some time at a competitor. I went to Oklahoma City and worked for American Precious Metals Exchange, and I was hired to be the manager of customer service, and that's what initially got me into precious metals and understanding the service for precious metals. And I jokingly say they brought me to Oklahoma City to teach the team how to be smooth. And what that means is if you've got $50,000 of silver in transit to a customer, and let's say that tracking information is not providing the detail you like, and it would appear your $50,000 of silver is missing, or we're not
Oh
sure
my.
exactly where it is. Well, then you'd better be smooth when the customer called. And so that mission really turned into more of what not to say in that situation. Let's develop some processes to get them to the person who has the best information ASAP. Let's make sure they always work with that person because you know what happens whenever you talk with a different agent, you get a slightly different answer. It's one of the
Absolutely.
biggest things that a manager of customer service fights against and tries to train to make sure there is consistency in the message and all of that. But once we got that sorted out, my role changed a little bit, and they wanted me to start to look at things they could do to take little service advantages away from customers that didn't necessarily have a cost to them, but would save them some money operationally. And I said, I'm not really the guy to provide less service, and
Mm.
I hope that's not why you brought me here without telling me that. So I transitioned to the sales team for about a year where I learned a lot more about product than I did as the manager of customer service. I mean, I came in cold. I knew about silver, I knew about gold, but I would have been hard pressed to tell you about graded coins or what's a collector's item or what's that word numismatic again? You know, Vanna, can I get a vowel? You know, it's just, I didn't know anything about that. And so after a couple of years of serving customers, I did get that background. And then it was getting into more specific things about mintages and who's the mint and is there a special process that makes this particular item so cool? And is this a domed coin? Really? They're not all just flat? Wow, you know, this one's got some enamel paint on it. This is special because this one actually is signed by the designer. This has a certificate of authenticity.
And
Just mind blowing variety of product is out there.
and your job is to explain what a product is and your
Yes.
team.
Yes, and that would be explaining products to people all along the spectrum of experience. So my favorite person to talk to is the absolute I'm new to metals type of person because I love to teach, I love to educate, and that's really more of what we do with Bullion Max and when assisting customers. It's more about getting them educated so they can make the choices that work best for their portfolio and their future investing. You know, I'm not here to tell them, you know, how to win at this game because I can't provide financial advice. What I can do is I can say other people who have your goals have done the following. And so far, this is how they're doing after such and such amount of time. Everybody's going to work at their own pace. Everyone's goals are going to be a little bit different, even though they may be similar. And you know, you were talking before how service can be kind of disappointing. That's almost always based on the lack of the service provider's ability to listen. The best service you will ever receive will be because somebody listened to you. And so they answered your questions because they heard your questions. You know, if they're not really paying attention, it's like pencil whipping the assignment. And that's where people tend to need to repeat themselves because they don't feel they're being heard. And
And in a case where, you know, hopefully it doesn't happen, that 50,000 dollars worth of silver or gold is in transit to
is
somebody
somewhere.
or somewhere, yeah, you know, missing in action, as they say,
MIA is a good, very good way to describe that. Yes.
right? But you, as a customer service manager and your team, will do everything in your power
Mm-hmm.
to track it and make sure that it's going to the customer. And I think that's rare. I believe that's rare in not only in precious metals, but even by one of those American girl dolls.
The American Girl dolls, yes. And you know, I'm just as serious as a heart attack when I let people know when they make a purchase. I let them know, you know, UPS is our main carrier, and everything is shipped insured, and so you're not responsible for it until it's in your hot little hands. Until then, either Bullion Max owns it, our insurance company owns it, or the carrier owns it. So please be assured if for some reason it doesn't show up or there's a problem with the shipment or anything like that, we will make it right. You know, it's not though we have your money the second you pay for your order, the order's not complete until the metals are in your possession and you're happy with what you have.
And it's insured. I wasn't aware of that, and I think that's a good point. This is Bullion Banks. I'm Mark Allen. We're spending some time with Sean Reynolds. He's the customer service manager at Bullion Max. His job is to educate and inform you as somebody who may be experienced in precious metals, and you will get the very best customer service when you call BullionMax or go onto their website, which is up underneath us right now. Also, if you're brand new to this and are just thinking that maybe you should explore precious metals, whether for investment opportunities, whether you just like collectibles, uh, just want to have some gold, silver hanging around. Uh, this is a place to go to learn about Bullion Max, about precious metals, and how it can help you and your family to fight inflation, for example. And we're
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about some words in just a few minutes. If not on this episode, we will do it on our next. So we encourage you to go to Bullion Max, explore it, take a look around. There are articles, I think there are videos as well that explain everything you need to know about precious metals and how it can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some things going on right now that a lot of people don't understand,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lack of inventory or the tightening of inventory. How do you respond to that? Somebody calls up and says, "I want to buy 50 50 American Gold Eagles," and
Mm-hmm.
you go, what happens?
Well, one of the things that we try to do is we often have tiered discounts. And so when we're talking about silver, it could be, 1 to 19 or 1 to 24 is the base price. Okay, but then you'd receive a discount if you have 20 or 25, and then the next tier discounts at 100. And then I think kangaroos have a discount at 250 because that's the size of their monster box. Otherwise, 500 and up. So you usually have four different prices available. We are working
That's,
really,
I'm sorry to
yeah,
interrupt. I just want to know. You're talking about 250 individual pieces,
correct.
500 individual
So,
pieces.
yes, so by purchasing all of those coins that are the same individual coin, we respect a volume discount, basically, is what it is. But it has been difficult to keep inventory to be able to get people into that second and third price tier. Now, we've got some inventory coming in very soon, and where we never felt that we would ever pre sell anything, if we're moving it internally from point A to point B and not counting on the mint to deliver our product to set what that date is, we may be doing a little bit of pre selling, but you should never be more than a week out. But for right now, until we do that, if it's in the shop and you see it, we have it. We haven't been doing any pre-selling at all, and simply because that experience isn't a whole lot of fun if things don't go as expected. So we're trying to stay out of that. Excuse me. But however, the supply is kind of making us rethink that a little bit, because if we're out of stock today, but we'll have some in 2 days, we feel we should be able to let you know that instead of, no, we're just out. So then I don't know when you'll come back and check again to see if we have more in.
And would you say if somebody is interested, do you do a follow-up? Say, hey, Mr. Smith, Miss Smith, we'll be glad to call you back when we have it in stock.
Absolutely. And that's one of the advantages that you have with the small service team that we have. Chances are I would be your personal representative. Now, since I'm the service guy, I'm not a sales guy. So I do everything I do in the name of service, not because I'm getting paid to. But you know what? That's where my heart is. That's who I've always been. So I don't need to get paid extra to take awesome care of you. I just need to know what you need, and I will make sure that happens.
Uh, do you deal directly with the mints throughout the world?
A
That
number of them, yes. And actually, some of our supply chain issues have been from the mints. I think they're all overwhelmed. And even though we have contracts and regular deliveries that are supposed to happen, we have a few that just aren't. And so we're still waiting on inventory of 2022 coins that, perhaps by now, here in March, we should have had 3 deliveries already, and we've not had any. So, but we're also not alone in that. So, since the supply is short universally, and since people are buying and holding and not selling themselves, the acquisition cost of things that are not new cost more because you need to incent people to sell so we can buy it,
Hmm.
so we can sell it. So that's making premiums go up a little bit, but I think most people would agree they'd rather have something to buy than nothing to buy. Even if it costs a little bit more, now is the time to collect your ounces. The train hasn't left the station, or when they talk about that parabolic increase of what's coming in the market, that's shooting off more like a rocket than going sideways like a train.
And we have
So
been talking in previous episodes, we've talked, and these are available for you to see if you haven't, a couple of very, very smart strategists who have made some predictions about what's going to be happening in the marketplace. Let's go back to, I guess, the mining. I mean, are people mining gold? Are they mining silver? Are they mining uh, platinum
yes,
today?
it's not that there's a shortage of the metals per se. It's that there's a shortage of the bullion and the coins and the precious metal products that are sold for investment purposes. So it's just a point where we have not been since I've been in the business. When I was at AppMax like around 2015 or so, uh, metals flowed like water. Now, you could always get whatever it was you wanted: bars, coins, rounds, eagles, maples, did not matter. I can still see, being a purchaser at that time, you might get 25 cents over spot for an eagle. Okay, well, nowadays we're paying dollars over spot price for an eagle.
Let's explain that if you don't mind.
Sure.
Spot
Sure.
prices.
Spot price is the market rate, and that's shown on our site and all sites. They'll let you know what the market rate is
Mhm.
to when you're making a purchase today. So you have that market rate factors into your price, and that premium factors into that price. Now, the best way that I can describe what a premium is to a new folks is, market rate would be if you're walking around, you didn't really make any effort or anything to find some metal, but you could look down and you go, wow, there's some silver right there. Okay, market rate. To dig it up, to melt it, to turn it into things, to ship it to somewhere, that is the stuff that makes up the premium. So you put the market rate plus the premium together, and that's the purchase price for the item. So very rarely will you find, not never, I'm not going to say never, very rarely will you find precious metals available at just the spot price or the market rate. So when you have those other two factors together, that's your purchase price, and that's kind of how many people make decisions on what they buy. Is what is that purchase price, that I like to say acquisition cost, as opposed to premium. You keep saying premium, and people think about gasoline, and we don't want to think about that either.
No,
Most
we used to
do.
call it Ethel.
Yeah, yes, we used to call her Ethel. Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Well, premium
So
premium would be it's like, I'll call it a commission, and correct me if I'm wrong.
in a word, yes, it is your acquisition cost, just as we have an acquisition cost, and really, that premium is how precious metals dealers make their money. I mean, let's face it, it's market rate plus or minus when buying or selling, and so that difference between is how we make our money. So I think you would probably agree in that model where years ago we might buy back Eagles at market rate plus 25 cents or 50 cents, but they would be sold for 350 over spot. We're not making a whole lot of money on premiums. We're really trying to do it with volume, volume, volume. And to compete in this market and either have the best price or always have among the best prices, um, yeah, this is not a high margin situation. I mean, as a rule of thumb, you work at about a 2% margin in gold and maybe a 9 to 10% margin in silver. So it's nothing like food or clothing or anything like that where your markup is 100%, 200%, 300%.
Right.
No, 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 no. So where these premiums are higher now than they've been probably ever, and one of our guests was talking about that on his episode.
Right.
um, I would hope people don't get discouraged and just stop buying metal because they think the premiums are too high.
Right.
Until this supply situation improves, the premiums are going to continue to be high. And if that melt up happens and we're already in short supply, okay, the supply is going to get even tighter because of that parabolic increase in market rate. Okay, people may reach a point where the train has left the station, so to speak, and it's too late to buy because the premiums are going to be, again, nobody has a crystal ball, but they're nowhere near 25% of what the total cost is, or 50%. If there's no
Which is
silver
what you
to
pay
buy,
in a market or
right?
or
If
something
there's
like
no
that.
gold or silver to buy at the time, you're going to see premiums like that because that's good old supply and demand. It's not that the precious metals companies trying to be mean to you or they're price gouging or anything like that. It's always going to be, here's what it costs for us to get it, and here's kind of our standard markup given that. But as those things go up, our prices are going to go up
And
on the
people
on the
need
other
to
hand.
know to understand that.
Oh
Uh,
yes, yes.
Bullion Max prides itself not only on the customer service as we described, but your one of your taglines is wholesale precious metals, right?
Hmm.
Explain
Hmm.
that very quickly.
Well, a lot of it has got to do with what things cost. And obviously, at the low margins that I described, but being direct to consumer, that's really what, excuse me, that's really what we're getting at is we are going to have the lowest price or will be among the lowest prices out there. Now, I can't say we're always going to have the lowest price in such a low margin industry. That's more of a suicide mission than anything to
Right.
insist on having the absolute lowest price for everything. But what we feel we're offering is going to be unique in the precious metals industry, which is serviced first, that low price comes second. And when you get to enjoy the BullionMax difference, we're hoping people will remain loyal. And once they've learned that we're typically going to have the best price or be among the best prices, they're not shopping the competition anymore. They know they can count on us to deliver on what we say we're going to. We'll do it within the time frame we said we would. And again, with that guarantee and everything being insured and having someone who is going to take a loss package as serious as a heart attack, meaning me. I mean, nobody cares. Nobody cares as much as you do about your gold, but I am a really close second. And
And
so,
that's an important difference with Bullion Max, the
mhm.
customer service, the education, the information that Bullion Max gives. And we have the website up, bullionmax.com, so you can learn about how Bullion Max works, how they can work for you and add precious metals to your portfolio. Now you can go there, visit, uh, read a lot of stuff, listen to some audio and video programs, and learn about the Bullion Max difference. And I think that's an important thing to note. Give them a look. If you are interested in precious metals, Bullion Max is something you really need to take a look at. The customer service manager is our guest, our co-host, really, Sean Reynolds, and he's there to make sure that everything happens the way you want it to do. You mentioned something just a second ago, a minute ago, and that is parabolic increase or a melt up. Can you describe what that is? Give us some
Sure. Well,
descriptions here.
the metals market is not immune from volatility, but it does not sway like the stock market does. You don't see such sharp increases, decreases, things of that nature. There's some minor moves within the usual waves. If it's going to plateau, it will still go up and down. It doesn't just stay. Metals prices on the market can change every minute. And so sometimes when I get a little chatty with a customer, it's like, well, we better get this order in because the market's moving on you. I don't want to cost you any more money just because I'm educating you. But um, this parabolic increase that some of our guests have previously said is coming, that's a sudden, sharp increase in the market, the kind of which has rarely been seen. Maybe 2011 when silver was flirting with 50 bucks. By the time it got in the 30s, it was like, oh, now it's up 42, 40, but now it's back down from 50. And that's typically what has happened when we've had that parabolic increase, is we've just as equally had the quick slide back down the mountain. The predictions that are coming don't talk at all about the slide back down the mountain. And that's where maybe people who have invested in metals previously have been frustrated. Seems like this is the time where silver's finally going to truly be what it's worth. And then it's not. It comes back down. Even with COVID, most people were predicting metals are going to come back down. After gold gets over $2,000, it's going to go back down to 1,500. And after silver goes up to $28, it's going to come down to $14 an ounce again. Well, that didn't happen. And we had a guest who predicted that would not
Absolutely.
happen. Our
Absolutely.
contrarian, right?
Yes, our contrarian, David Hunter.
David Hunter, yes. So he was right about that. And so he's got a lot of credence going into his prediction about this parabolic increase. Silver is expected to hit 50 bucks an ounce in about 6 months. Then the news after that is not good. We're looking at a market bust after that.
Hmm.
But then silver is going to continue to rise both on its value and the devaluation of the dollar from the bust. So all in all, that means we're likely looking at $100 an ounce silver within the next maybe 12 to 18 months.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. That's a big wow. So that's
Yes. And
put
so
that.
don't let today's premiums keep you from buying metal because it's more than it was. Well, our situation is no longer what it was
Well, if
either.
it, and I'm going to assume that if silver is at $100 an
Mhm.
ounce, the premium might be a little bit more too.
It's going to depend on the supply because
Yeah.
it's, yeah, but I would assume so. I don't think what's going to drive the market is necessarily the scarcity of the metal. If they get caught up, if the mints get caught up, start making as many eagles as people would care to buy, as many maples as people would care to buy. I would hope those new coins, which would carry with them a lower premium, would start to bring the general premiums down. That would be great. So, but I've also found situations where when the market goes down and metals become more affordable, I've seen companies increase their premiums then. And boy, does that make people frustrated. They hate that.
Sure.
I've certainly had some conversations with people in my prior employment with another company. Seems like every time the market goes down and I'm finally going to get a chance to get some affordable metal, you guys crank up your premiums. Well,
It's
I
supply
just,
and demand.
yeah, because chances are, because the metal when it goes down sharply like that, yes, that decreases the purchasable supply. it's hard not to take that personally, especially if you've been counting on, you've set some goals. When it gets to 14.50 an ounce, I'm gonna buy some. And then when you do, the premium's an extra 50 cents a coin or a dollar per coin more than it was just before the metal hit that point. Of course, it's frustrating. Everybody wants to pay as little as possible and sell it for as much as possible. Buy low, sell high. That's no different in
Absolutely.
metals or anything, And so I understand the puts and takes can really be frustrating. And so what that means is sometimes when the market is up and the supply is good because the premium is lower, that's actually a better time to buy than when the market is down and you're counting on market movement to bring the cost down. If the premium comes up, it might have been a better value when the market was up because the premiums are lower.
In our remaining just moments here, do people call in and ask you about the premiums? Do they I hate to say complain about them, but that's
No, this is one of the things that I like to do when people call. If they want to know what the least expensive metal is in the shop, I'll tell them. I'll take them right there because I always know what it is.
sure.
But if that's what they want, I don't have a reason to direct them toward anything else. Because again, I'm not listening if they came right out and told me, "Hey, what's the cheapest silver you have in the store?" Oh, but look at these over here. No, I don't do that.
Got
If,
it.
if that's what you want, that's what I'm going to give you. If you drive the conversation where you go, okay, well, what costs a little bit more? And is there anything special about that? Well, I love those conversations because, lowest price may or may not be something that meets their goals anyway. I mean, for a while there, we didn't even have a 1 ounce silver bar in stock because we'd sold through all of them.
Got it.
Okay. Well, now you're looking at rounds or coins. So once you get into coins, then what coin? Because there's a whole spectrum of coins in the even as standard bullion before you get
Yeah,
into
from maples to
semi-numismatics. Yeah.
maples to what?
Well, and we
And
recently had put the koalas out there. I love the koalas. Now they're not priced like kangaroos or philharmonics or things of that nature. But I love them because they have a limited mintage to begin with 300,000, not millions. Then they change the design every year. So there's an element of collectability there. Okay, that's cool. That's still better than here's the same old coin and the only thing different is the year that's
got
stamped on it. And then they're also 4.9s pure for silver. So it's the best scenario that you can get. If you're staying within the same price class, that's probably your best
and
value.
and it's up to the individual consumer,
Absolutely.
right?
So, for example, I had a number of people I assisted with koalas last week. We had an introductory offer where we took $2 off the premium, and I had one person buy 100, another person bought 100, and another person bought 150. Part of it was because we had those available to sell. Part of it was they understood the specialness of that coin that cost just a little more than a maple, for example. But when you go to sell it, it's well, the third thing is it's cute. I mean, the koala coins,
Yeah.
just like the pandas and kookaburras, when you get a different design every year, you hope it's going to be cute because everybody likes cute stuff and they love shiny coins. So
Absolutely.
when you're
Listen, Sean, we're out of time on this episode, but I want to pick this up on our next one, and I want to talk about that. You had a special, I think, a week or two ago, and I want to talk about that as we
Mhm.
begin our next episode. I'm Mark Allen for Sean Reynolds. Please visit us at BullionMax.com. That's BullionMax.com. Lots of information. You can read about it, learn about precious metals. If you're just starting out, give them a call. The customer service team is there to talk to you and to explain the ins and outs of buying precious metals. Sean, we'll see you next time.
Sounds great.
Okay. I'm Mark Allen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.